what's up everybody? It is Mark with the My Front Range Living team, and today we're going to go in a little bit different direction, and I'm going to give you my predictions for the real estate market in Colorado Springs for 2022. Let's get started. Hey, what's going on everybody? It is Mark with the My Front Range Living team, powered by RE/MAX Integrity, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about predictions for the Colorado Springs real estate market in 2022. Now, I realize everybody has their predictions and they love to pontificate about what they think is going to happen to the real estate market in 2022. Well, I don't know that much about the real estate market in its entirety as a nation, but in Colorado Springs, we've had some pretty consistent years, and I think that we've got enough information to give you some pretty solid predictions of what we can expect in 2022 in Colorado Springs. So if you're thinking about moving to Colorado Springs or buying a home in Colorado Springs, or maybe you're just living in Colorado Springs and you're like, hey, let's watch how this goes in 2022, this is going to be some good information. And I want to start with probably the most obvious one, and that is growth. Y'all, there is growth stinking everywhere in this city from a commercial and a residential standpoint. What's interesting about that, historically, commercial real estate will be up when residential is down, and then it will just chase each other up and down the roller coaster, right? So if residential's up, commercial's down, commercial's up, residential's down. Right now, we're seeing that it's pretty well neck and neck. That means that the growth in Colorado Springs is huge. We are seeing homes being built like crazy. We are seeing employers, not the least of which is Amazon and the military. They're expanding their footprint in the city. And what that means is it is a draw for a lot of people because jobs are plentiful right now. And obviously that can be said nationwide, but specifically we have decent paying jobs where people can afford a little bit better lifestyle. And so we're kind of a destination for people looking for growth. So that's the number one thing that I think that we need to take a look at in the real estate market as we head into 2022 is the fact that our growth in Colorado Springs is explosive right now. The next thing that I want to take a look at is interest rates. Well, if you've been paying any attention at all, you have noticed that the interest rates have just kind of stayed hovering right around 3. I mean, give or take, maybe a quarter point or so, but that 3% has kind of been the average over the last several months. That's not going to be the case for much longer. We've already talked about the fact that interest rates are going to go up. Everybody's saying it. The Fed's saying it. The news is telling you that. We're watching that happen. So as we head into the first quarter of 2022, we're keeping an eagle eye on the interest rates. The reality of it is the Fed is saying a minimum of 3 hikes in 2022. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that the mortgage interest rates are going to go up. That's not necessarily what it means, but it's definitely an indicator. We're following that trend, right? So the Fed rates go up, and the mortgage industry has to take note and pay attention and adjust accordingly. So it's widely accepted that mortgage interest rates are going to go up. And if you've looked at our videos before, you can check it out right here, how a mortgage interest rate impacts your buying power. But we all understand that when the interest rates go up, you can't afford as much house, right? So a $500,000 mortgage becomes increasingly more difficult to afford. So, and the reason I bring up $500,000 is that's the next step in predictions for 2022. We have been hovering right around $500,000 as the average sales price here in Colorado Springs over the course of essentially the last quarter or better of 2021. Now, we're going to see that continue to go up. That's just the reality. We've seen almost a 22% value increase on average year over year the last 12 months. And I think that we're going to see that trend continue. Not necessarily at the 20% level, but still 10 to 15%, right? If you go up another $50,000 on the average sales price of a house, right? And the interest rates go up, it's going to be more and more difficult to afford that home. Or you're going to be spending exponentially more on the exact same home now that you would have this time last year, right? So it's super important when we talk about it all the time. It's never going to be cheaper to buy a home than it is today. And that's true even now, because the reality of it is the average sales price is going to keep getting higher and the interest rates are going to get higher. So all of those things combined, meaning that just the housing market's going to be more expensive to get into. Not saying it's impossible, but definitely something to keep an eye on is the interest rates and the average sales price continuing to climb as we head into 2022. Which leads us to our next spot, demand. Oh man, demand is still high. Gang, we're recording this between holidays, between Christmas and New Year's as we head into 2022. And we're still very, very busy. There are a lot of buyers out there right now looking at homes, actively looking at homes this week between these holidays. Apparently there's no off season in the housing market. We're just busy. People are looking to make the move to Colorado Springs. And so that demand is still high. And because of those things I was mentioning, the growth and the opportunities and the lifestyle that Colorado Springs has to offer, that's going to continue to drive demand higher. It's just going to happen. And so we're watching demand as well. We don't think it's waning, and that's going to impact those average sales prices. And so then, coupled with those interest rates that we were talking about, you can see how this is all working hand in hand and how it's very, very fluid. The last thing that I want to touch on, kind of taboo, but we're going to talk about uncertainty. And what I mean by uncertainty is as we head into 2022, we're looking at midterms. Midterm elections are a big, 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 big topic of conversation. But the reason that politics is such a big deal, and we'll talk about the pandemic in a minute as well, but the uncertainty in regards to politics and the pandemic play a huge role in what the Fed's going to do, what the economy does, what our markets look like. So there's uncertainty. So we're anxiously awaiting to see what happens in these midterm elections. So as we head into the midterms, I think there's going to be a little more clarity, right? Right now, just politically, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that in the recent bill that the current administration was trying to put through, and that didn't go as well as they thought it was going to go, I think that people are watching that scenario very, very closely to see what kind of unity the leaders at the top are going to give us. And I mean, agree with that or not, the markets follow that information, right? The Fed's going to act largely on, all right, how are you impacting inflation? So if Congress can put together something in regards to inflation to start to bring that down, that's going to help interest rates. And if they can't put something together that's going to help inflation, you guessed it, we're just going to see more volatility in the market. And you add the pandemic on top of all this, and I know that we're over all the vaccines and we're over the boosters and we're over are you vaxxed, unvaxxed, all that. That's not what this conversation is about. The reality of it is, right, wrong, like it, don't like it, love it, hate it, it doesn't matter. The pandemic is impacting our economy. It's impacting our nation, and we're seeing tighter restrictions in some areas, staying looser in others. And those housing markets are going to be impacted by that accordingly because people will ebb and flow with that. They don't like the restrictions here. They're going to go somewhere where it's not as restrictive. That's just how it is. Some people will stay, others will go. And so we're going to see this influx into communities that are allowing perhaps looser freedoms in that space. And again, I don't want to go down the whole rabbit hole of whether or not it's right, it's wrong, it's different. We're just watching that migration happen. It's a fact of life. That's what's happening. And so we're keeping an eye on the pandemic and how that's playing out too. I'm sure there's more strains to come. I got it. And so we're keeping an eye on the uncertainty both on the political side and the pandemic side. Hey, as always, thank you so much. I know that today was kind of weird, but we're looking to 2022 hopefully. And we think that it's going to be a great year, and we're excited to share it with you. And we hope that you found value in the information today. We are putting out content every single week to help you make Colorado Springs feel like home. Hey, if you want to learn more or you want to see more, you can check out the description of the video below and check out our website at myfrontrangeliving.com, newly updated for your pleasure. And you can also get the relocation guide. That's downloaded. It gives you a little more information about some areas in Colorado Springs that could meet your criteria. Thanks so much for stopping by. Happy New Year. Have an awesome year. We are excited to spend the next 365 days with you. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.